I'd like to do is just give you a summary to begin with. Let me show you our net expenses. Just give you a brief rundown. The net digest this year is down from $413 million, this is the assessed value, to $390 million, $22 million reduction, 5.5% from 2012 to our 2013 budget for digest. The revenue from property tax for this budget that I'm proposing to you, of course that could change, but by the time this night's over with, it doesn't need to change a whole lot. Well, it'll change as much as we want, but I just got to get it to the paper, our proposed budget this year, get it in the paper. But it's 2012 was 2.89, almost 2.9. Revenue for property tax this year under this budget would be 2.696. Difference of 203,000 or a little over 7% reduction in property tax or revenue for property tax. Our expense budget last year was 6.799. This proposed budget expenses would be 6.638. Difference of $161,000 or a reduction of 2.38%. And then the millage rate would remain constant. Just for review, 2011 revenue over expenses. Our revenue exceeded our expenses by $308,000. If you consider the $299,000 that we had budgeted for revenue fund balance, then the revenue exceeded the expenses by $607,000. In this year's budget, what you'll see is that we have redistributed the fringe benefits, which was formerly in the general administration budget. It was like a $792,000 budget. It's been redistributed to the individual departments so that we can accurately demonstrate the actual cost of each department. Just to give you an idea what that did for us. It's just a pie chart. Chart, how it looks now. You can see after redistributing those general administration and fringe benefits, the three biggest ones are Sheriff's Department 16.34%, jail 14.81%, a little over 31% total, 12.76% for ambulance service, public works about 8%, and then it's diminishing from there. But public safety is a huge part of our budget. Add to that clerical or judicial, courts, and you got a big part of the remainder. Then tax collections from the tax commissioner to tax assessor to tax appraiser to board of assessors, board of equalization. You add all those up, you pretty much summed it up. Then you got a few discretionary services that you provide, and you know that it gets down to diminished returns. I'll print these and put them in our office like I did before. I'll give you. You can see the large portion. Of course, this is not there. It shouldn't be a reflection on the individual offices. A lot of this increase is basically due to the fact that we did redistribute those fringe benefits, which is exactly what we should have been doing all along. We'll get back into that same chart. From last year, it was 13.0 and 13.26% between those two, and now it's 31%. So an increase of 5%, or 20% of salaries is basically fringe benefits. And there's your general administration, which has been reduced to about $130,000 to cover bonds and insurance, which is really doesn't apply to individual departments. So it'll take on a little bit different look as we go over it. And what I'd like to do, instead of going over each individual one just yet, is I'd like to go through and just, in summary, and just show you exactly where the money came from, in addition, what went away, and then if we have questions specifically, we can talk about that. So we'll talk about tonight, hitting next in stone, but it is a proposed budget, it is something we do need to publish tomorrow. Basically, current taxes, like I suggested, is down by $203,000. I'm gonna hit the big items. Motor vehicle is up by about $35,000. Mobile home taxes, it looks like it's down by $4,000. Local option sales tax was reduced by about $31,000. Ambulance service revenues are down, partly because of Obamacare, partly because of the scrutiny of Medicare, Medicaid. They're being more precise on how you bill ALS, BLS billing services. And unfortunately, a lot of it's got to do with folks just can't afford to pay it. Beer, wine, liquor taxes down. Interest, no surprise. Landfill fund balance, we reduced that. Coming back to the county, trying to balance former accumulated imbalances that we had. Mount fund balance, like I mentioned, we didn't use that last year. Total revenues down 161 was the number I suggested. Getting into the expenses. And I will say that by and large, everybody was very cooperative. You just can't cut $161,000 in expenses without a lot of cooperation. And you'll see a lot of people really work hard to make this happen. It's getting harder and harder, but I think we're going to be able to certainly make it through this year. It's going to get more and more difficult next year. The positive numbers, the positive percentages are actually the good numbers. Clerk court essentially reduced by 0.6%. Now again, you got to keep in mind, I'll go with you again in a minute. Let's just start with general administration. That was formerly a $789,000 number, reduced to 130, but that number right there has been redistributed to a lot of different departments. And while you'll see that each departmental number went up in 2012 to 2013, it's by and large because of this number right here, which is the sum of all those fringe benefits that were added to the department from this number right here. If not, I'll tell you exactly what it was from. Or I'll try to, and if I can, I'll get back. But basically, that budget did go up, but it was mostly because of redistributing workers' comp, unemployment, retirement, and health benefits to the department.
We don't have that sheet.
No, I just made this today, so I just summarized. I can get you a copy of that too. Probate judge, basically the net, she reduced her budget, the net budget by 3.5%. Sheriff's Department is actually up by 5.32%. Remember, we had the Fair Labor Standards Act, we had to adjust, and so we had to add some regular time and overtime to that department just to cover the Fair Labor Standards Act concerns. That is probably a little bit little number, but I don't want to be in the red at the end of the year. So, Commissioner's office included 100% of the health care costs, liabilities. Tax commission down 3.74%. Election was actually reduced by 51%, but you know, this is an election year, next year is not, so we have those oscillations with that office. So that's the biggest reduction there. Jail 4.78% reduction. James, while we're on the coroner's office, we'll just move over to you, and of course that's a 162% increase, and we'll let you address your budget, and I'll pull it up for you.
y'all have a copy of the sheet of justification for it. Pretty self-explanatory. I've seen the need for a vehicle in the coroner's office more and more every day. It's not, I appreciate the little mileage I get, but it's not about the wear and tear so much on my car. It's the equipment hauling that I need to keep stuff with me. If I get called, it's just no worse than a county camp employee will take the truck home because it carries a chainsaw in it if they get called out during the night. It's something to house my stuff that I gotta have. I got a toolbox on the back of my truck that's full of corner stuff. I can't even carry anything that belongs to me. You get on the scene, say it takes you 7 miles to get onto the scene, but you sit there and run your vehicle with your lights on, trying to light up the scene, or you're down in the woods. Luckily I have 4-wheel drive. You're down in the woods, scratching your car all up, and then you go to a scene, you got to come back, get in your vehicle with body fluids on you. And then it's just I done put $600 worth of seat covers on my truck in less than a year or so, because I have to keep putting the seat covers on because of the body fluids. I just see it being more and more necessary for us me to have a county vehicle to share with my deputy coroner, for us to have everything equipped. We go to a call, we got everything right there with us, not running 2 or 3 places trying to find it, or me taking my personal vehicle, running on the side road for 2 hours waiting on a trooper to get there, working the scene. So it's getting more and more, and to be honest with you, I can't continue to do that. My truck is getting on up in age, and I wish I could say I could afford to buy a new one, but I can't do that either. So, but I would appreciate anything. It don't have to be nothing new. I appreciate something nice representing the coroner's office when you pull up. And I just put in the budget $10,000. If I find something for $5, I have no problem with that. Something to haul the equipment with. The computer, I am still working with the same computer that I had that John Foz gave away. So that's been when he first took office, so moved it out of office down there. And I can't even put a memory chip card in it from a camera to run pictures. I can't, there's a lot of stuff I can't.
Didn't we just buy a new laptop 2 years ago?
Yeah, the laptop 2 years ago. Yeah, but you can't put a chip in it to download on the camera. Everything I got, Billy, is what I need now. Everybody's wanting requesting now. I can't give it to them. I'm using the internet down there that belongs to the probation department. I have to share it. So sometimes it's when I go in, it takes it a long time for it to bring it up, and end up spending more time in the office when it shouldn't take 15 minutes to run down and do something. I end up staying in an hour trying to bring up my computer, trying to get it brought up. If they're down, they're locked up. So to get in there to their room to cut off the box and then turn it back on. But I appreciate them letting me use it. Don't get me wrong, I do appreciate it. But and then the justification for a phone. A lot of times when I'm on the scene, more and more that they're calling me, say, James, can you shoot me a shot from the scene? And email me. Okay, I don't have a phone that does that. Y'all bought me a phone, and I appreciate that. And because mine was being wore out, of course it's still being worn out. A lot of people can't get my number down straight. But I need something that, and I will turn this one back into something. I can take a picture, email it, that's got internet service with it, that I can send it to the crime lab. What I'm looking at, I'm their eyes. They want to see what I'm seeing. And a couple instances happened recently that is pending litigation on, that if I could have had that tool to work with, then it would have been a lot easier. So, but like I say, I looked into it. I think the phone was $199. I think you might get them cheaper. I was trying to give y'all some figures. Then the service on it, I don't know what the service, I think it was $30 for the internet part of it. And I don't know what the basic charge would be for the phone usage. I have my own personal phone, so I'm not trying to use that phone for nothing else but business. And then the insurance thing is, I didn't read an echo after I even wrote this out, that y'all was, you know, trying to save some money on that, so it's not a big deal on the insurance. But I just wanted, I never really got a clear justification for it, why I wasn't entitled to county insurance. I'm on salary and I'm an elected official. So that was the two things. And the other part I had put in my budget for, at the bottom line of the budget sheet, was I know y'all know I work out of the old sheriff's office down here in that brick building behind me. And in that building, I've got the little, what is that building, 8 by 10 room? Right there. And on each end of me is 2 big rooms. One of them is being used by behavioral group that meets once a week. The other is being used by probation that meets once a week. And I'm sitting there in the middle where the office you can't move within. No more room to expand, no more nothing, and it's just packed to the teeth. I ain't got no more room for filing cabinets or nothing. There's 2 offices on each end. I don't want to make nobody mad. I don't want to take the office away. But I go up there in there every day and stay an hour or 2. They come in there with maybe 2 or 3 kids a day. In probation, maybe, you know, a dozen. I don't know why they couldn't just share the same room. Instead of, you know, they meet, one of them meets on Tuesday and one of them meets on Wednesday. And because one of them brings their own laptop and just plugs in stuff. But that's probation. And but I just wanted to know if y'all could consider that, maybe speaking to the source, that they wouldn't care if one of them would move out of one of the offices. And they could even have mine if I, one of them, like the behavioral only meets with the family, and it's very private, so they could have that office for very private meetings. But that's just, I know during the renovation part of it, I didn't get no offers to expand my office because it wasn't where to go. So, but I would appreciate y'all considering it.
You have yourself and your deputy coroner a 3% increase in salary. Do you want to address that?
Yes, sir. We haven't had one in about, what, 5 or 6 years, and I think with the caseloads growing every year, right now I'm pretty much at what I was for the last year up to November. He's not asked for anything other than a little bit more to help him with his expenses. So, and the same thing was on mine. Well, I'll let anybody else ask questions if they want to about the rest of it. I can just tell you the salaries are set by local legislation. In fact, when we asked Norman about that, there seems to be some question about whether or not the current salary is correct. It looks like, according to our local enabling act, it says that you should be compensated in the amount of $3,600 per year, which shall be paid in equal monthly installments from the funds of Oglethorpe County. And it appears that somewhere along the line that was looked at as a supplement versus an actual salary. Looks like to me in 1992, the Board of Commissioners, basically the resolution says that Oglethorpe County Board of Commissioners determined the need to change the compensation of the coroner and deputy coroner from a fee system to a salary. And at that point it was established at $3,600. And the deputy coroner in the amount of $800. So it could be that we're actually paying you too much now. But whatever it is, regardless of whatever it is, you just can't change it. It has to go through public hearings, and it'll have to apply to after you're elected the next time. But they're, Norman's looking into it, but it may be that we're paying you too much right now. But you just can't, again, it is an elected position and the salary's set. You come in here last year and want the same thing, but I thought we explained it then, but it was a pretty clear-cut way to calculate it. There's a whole legislature changed that though, didn't they, right in the middle, you know, they changed that where it was based on population, the salary.
Yeah, and the population, the distribution of population is, from 11,890
That's
to
correct.
19,999.
But it was also set for new elected coroners, not for the ones that was already in office.
Well, no, this salary is for every coroner that isn't paid on the fee system or whose salary isn't set by the local legislation, us. And this was set by the local legislation at $3,600.
Yes, but
And that $3,600 does, you would get the COLAs that went into effect in 2002, 2003, 2005, 2006, 2007, and 2008. But it's clearly not identified as a supplement, it's identified as a salary. So at some point, somebody took the $2,400 and added the $3,600 to it for a $6,000 base. But that's, and I got an email from Norman, it basically says it's either $2,400 or $3,600, but it ain't $6,000.
$6,000 broke, how many pay periods, 2,600 in a year? Okay.
So, anyway, that addresses the salary point, we'll see what he has to say about that as we
Yeah,
get
do that.
deeper into it.
Yeah.
And what about the insurance? What was the question about
What was the question?
that? I was asking
Oh,
your
okay.
question about the insurance.
Yeah, it probably won't be enough salary to pay for it. So. I didn't read it echoed to last week when I had asked the question, why wasn't I entitled to insurance? Because I hold an elected position and a salary position. And I never could get an answer from that, so. I mean, y'all guys are elected and y'all have insurance. I'm elected and a salary position, don't have insurance. That's just a question, and I never got an answer.
Who'd you ask the question to?
You,
When did you ask the
right in
question?
front of the porch out there in front of your office, I asked you, why
did you
couldn't
do
I
that,
keep
Nick?
my insurance?
When did you do that?
When at the end of the EMS period.
Well, at that point, you were getting insurance because you were EMS employee.
Okay, but still, my question is, why couldn't, because of elected official and a salary position?
Well, and the answer was you get your insurance because you were full-time EMS formerly.
That's correct.
Full-time EMS.
That's
employee.
correct. Well, now the question is, why can't I continue it now? Or made it active then? I was still at that point salary and as coroner, salary and full-time.
Well, the policy was as a full-time employee, you got the insurance, and the policy hadn't changed as far as I know.
Okay.
If you want the policy to change, you need to ask somebody on this board to present that as a case, but you know, it is a policy decision.
Okay.
So you asking about being an elected official?
And a
Why
salary,
you should be entitled to insurance, right?
that's correct. That's what I'm
Yes,
asking.
sir.
Is the coroner position full-time?
Well, Bobby go, is commissioner full-time? I mean, the district commissioner?
Coroners, yes.
It is?
On call,
I'll determine that.
he's on call all the time, isn't he?
724. I don't pick and choose.
You have an answer, you know, on where we stand in that?
Well, again, I'm telling you that what the policy before he left EMS, and it doesn't change just because he did leave EMS, and that's my position.
Well, I know it wouldn't have been a multi-covered position being, working two jobs within the county, but tell me again how it's not an insurable position if he is salaried employee.
elected official?
Well, I don't know his salary, if there is a base fee that he gets as a coroner, just like everybody, gets, that's determined by law, but that doesn't dictate the fact, that doesn't guarantee that anybody any benefits. It guarantees you the salary, it doesn't guarantee you the benefits. And the benefit, monetary benefit, doesn't, the fact doesn't say anything about. Some apparently are paid on a statewide minimum salary, not entitled to be paid, but you can get paid a death benefit. I mean, that could be one of the, I guess that's the way they did it before, maybe, when they talk about the fee system. Is that how it was before, James,
You asked me, did I have insurance when I was on the fee system?
When it was a fee system, no, I'm not asking did you have insurance when it was on the fee system. I'm asking what the fee system was.
I paid per body.
Okay. And I guess that's what this is, a death investigation fee of $175.
$175 now.
Okay. But if you take that, you can take that, or if it's
I was on that, and of course the board at that time,
they changed it to
they changed it to salary position, and then they said you was entitled to insurance.
Now that's the part that you guarantee.
I also, at that time, gave me a car.
This is 1992.
I think it was, yeah. Little black Ford Galaxy. I had one of the sheriff's from it. That was the coroner's car.
Well, as far as the car's concerned, I'm just gonna tell you like I'm thinking. Holding the punches here. To date, through 5 months, had $185 in mileage per diem and expense, and I guess a large part of that came when you went through the coroner's training. We want to buy a $10,000 vehicle, pay insurance and upkeep on that vehicle, so you can do away with $185 worth of mileage and per diem.
That's 6 months.
It's 5 months. It's actually 5 months. It says through June, but it's actually through May. That's 41% of the year. You divide that by 41%, you probably come up around $500.
Yeah, but I was being able to claim some miles to come to the office every time I had to come meet with somebody or family, and but then I was told by your office that I could only use going to the body cop. Or if I used the miles that's used for the corners, it'd be a hell of a lot more what you see. What I'm getting paid for. But I was told I can only use it, go straight from the body cop.
Well, it has to be on corner business. It can't be just going to and from that office, James.
That is corner business, Billy.
Well, the county really doesn't have to supply the office. They can give you an expense to cover that,
I understand that. And also the county don't even have to have a coroner's office. I understand that.
So, you could do it out of your home like I guess a lot of other people do, especially in smaller counties. And we could give you the minimum monthly expense of $50 to cover that. But that's a lot less expensive than paying you to go to and from that office.
Okay.
That's just me now. You got 5 others.
I understand that. I understand you.
Do you have an office at home?
No. I had an office at home, and I got tired of families coming in my home on Sunday morning, want to know what to their loved one, or sitting there talking to, or people just showing up, or people just calling my house all the time during the night. So that's when we changed it. The chairman agreed 100% that nobody needs to have their office an elected office at home, so they changed it.
Is there any other questions?
I was asked about the computer now. You say you share a computer with, you know, is it, what about privacy? Is there interfere with the privacy issue with that? The computer.
Okay.
You said you share.
It ain't a share computer.
You share the internet.
Internet, yeah.
Internet service.
That's why I share it with the probation.
Well, my question was, is it any privacy issues may come about from that? I don't know.
I mean, the way it is now, it's locked up, you know, in our office. But I'm not asking to share a room. I'm just saying, would they be willing to let me have the larger office and they go to my small office? And I don't know what the deal, what the county has with the behavioral group. I don't know what kind of, if they have a contract, or I don't know what they have with the probation.
Okay, let me back. I was talking about this new computer you was asking for. You said you share an internet service with somebody.
That's
but
correct.
Do you need your own? That's what I'm asking.
Oh, I don't know what to ask. I don't know. I know as long as they're there, they let me use it, so. I also share the facts too, so.
What about the office space? That's the computer problem, he could come to my house and use my internet service, and if that's what he needs to do, or anybody, anywhere. That's all you gotta do, hook up to it, right?
Correct.
And you've got a laptop,
Yeah, I do have a laptop.
Wi-Fi, is that what it's called, not available?
No.
Is that so right?
It's not.
Wi-Fi, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what it is, I've heard it.
That's good on them cell phones. You can walk in and, you know, start using it.
But my question was, with the privacy of what you're dealing with, would it affect that in kind of way? That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I know when you're dealing with computer, I don't know everything about
Yeah.
it, but people can go in and do stuff.
And
It's
I'm
not
sure,
your internet.
I'm sure they could, Marilyn. I'm sure
Okay,
they could.
that's what I'm
Well, they can, yours, mine.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you dealing with families.
I know, but he's a devil over what you're talking.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
He's,
Yeah, I mean,
you can't, I don't guess you can completely protect anybody's computer. But he's using the internet, but not on their computer, so they don't have access to his.
well, I'm just using their service.
The office space can you get some of those storage cabinets, if you can't get it, swap them. If they, do they use, he said 1 day a week, different days, could they use one of those offices and let them have these other ones? I don't know, I didn't say it. He said he's short of space, I don't know what it is.
Well, it's probation, you know, and they, on one end, and supposedly juvenile probation and this kind of thing on the other end. You know, they need the room to have the families and that. I don't know if you can get a whole family inside, I think we want to trade that out.
No, not sure. I mean, they can use there's one office, a big office is on, he gets one end and the other two share the other.
Well, I don't think the other two can share, I mean, they're separated because, I mean, one's adult probation, one's juvenile probation.
They're different days, is that right? You said there were different days when they came.
Yeah, right. Tuesday is when the child behavioral, and Wednesday is when probation.
So they would be used the same day.
I've never seen them there the same day. And I'll be honest with you, I don't. And the behavioral part of it, and school is out now, you got to understand that. And they see a lot of the kids that have problems, you know. They haven't had many in there at all during the summer. Some days they're not even there.
But they can't come in any day though, can they?
Oh, yeah. I would assume they got office, yeah.
They can come in, so that.
Yeah.
Have you had a problem with families coming to your office, you don't have enough space? Is that a problem?
Usually it's 2 or 3, and I got some folding chairs I can bring in if I have to. It's just that, no, that, I wouldn't, they got the hall we can go out to, or, you know. It's just, right now, space. Y'all are welcome anytime to come down and just let me know. I'll meet you there and show you.
Phone situation, that's something all the other cardinals and all the surrounding counties do is get it, has a phone that they can.
That's pretty much what it's gone to, what they want us to do, you know. Be able to send the picture from the scene to the crime lab. We're the eyes for them, we've always been the eyes for them, but it's usually with the cameras and then doing the disc and sending it to them. Now, it's just modernizing it and saying, hey, click the picture and email it to us. From the scene. That way we call each other and say, can you turn it over on the side and do it for me? You know, stuff like that.
Do you have email?
Yeah, I can email.
Do you have email?
Uh-huh.
That's my own two concerns, office space and phone, what he's talking, I believe the office space is all right. It's just crowded. The phone. I would like to see that we buy a phone that up to date would be good, email the pictures from the scene if that's what they request.
Who requests that, James?
You guys, sometimes they'll say, shoot me a picture of what you got. And I can't, you know, I can't do it on my phone.
On the scene, right there, they want you to send,
Right.
send a picture of the phone.
Right. I mean, I ain't gonna say it to you, they want one of everything I go to. I'm just saying it's usually something there's a question about. And all it is modernizing. I mean, everything now they wanting.
Well, some of this modernization is good, some of it bad.
I agree with you 100%. That's why all these years I haven't had it.
And I'm not saying, I'm not a lot of things, I'm not just that.
Yeah, I'm just,
I think it comes down to wants and needs.
Right.
right, I agree. And it wasn't till recently it was a man.
So Jim Fulton, he'll confirm that for us, that that's what is necessary.
No, it would be Albert Bundy. He's with the lab.
You can't snap a picture and send it by email with your,
No.
with your
No.
wireless
No.
laptop.
No. Well, with my laptop. Lord knows.
You need a smartphone.
No,
A
that.
smartphone.
Well, I take a picture, and send it, I do people that like that. I can't, that,
You got a smartphone.
no, they got done wrong.
Any other questions?
If y'all got any questions on the coroner's office, not dealing with a budget, feel free to ask me now. I think all of you know what I do. So, and then I think some of you don't, so might know not everything I do.
Not interested in your services.
No further questions, we'll move on back to the general fund budget. Public work camp, $47,000. $47,000, basically a net of 5% decrease. even. Tax appraiser, we actually had a net increase of 0.44%. We're gonna have a reval this year of agricultural properties out of none. That's about a $10,000 increase. You just have to do it. We're lucky we got a total reval. Public buildings 2.18% decrease. Animal service 4.06% decrease. Rescue and civil defense 10.83% decrease. The rest of these are state agencies and basically had no increase, which is better than if we need something extra. And we did have some requests. Magistrate court 2.09% decrease. Local fire departments. Now, I need to explain this one to you, but I'll explain it to you when we get there. Basically, the bottom line is local fire departments gets a $500,000 distributed among the fire departments based on the digest. The digest is down actually over 4.4%, so that would be a reduction. But what you'll see here is it looks like this budget went up from 176 to 212, but there's some accumulated fund balance in there. We allowed them to carry over their fund balance. They didn't use it, accumulate it so they could buy something significant. Well, and that worked out good, but it's just difficult, very difficult to try to track the fund balance for 13 different fire departments. So what I'm going to, I'll get into that in a minute, but basically 4.4%, we'll make sure we spend some time on that. Don't help nothing. Local voter registrar again tied to the elections, no election year next year, 11.22% decrease. Courthouse security 3.65% increase. And the reason I painted that blue, and in all fairness to the sheriff, of course, don't hold him to fault for the Fair Labor Standards Act situation, but there is a decrease here, contrary to the 5.32% increase in the sheriff's department sales. And actually the jail was 4.78% decrease. Tax assessors down by 16.83%. One of the big items is, which there was some cuts otherwise, but we moved GIS parcel updates to planning and zoning. GIS 1 does our maintenance and GIS parcel updates now versus the original commission. And Josh was handling the maintenance portion of it with GIS 1, and the tax assessors were doing the partial updates with GIS 1. We want to combine those two so that we have one set of eyes looking at both parts of that, just to make sure it's got the correct oversight. So we moved that. Tax assessors were certainly in favor of that. So that decreased their budget significantly. I think it's like $12,000 difference. But you will see an increase in planning and zoning as a result of that, and a couple of other things that I'll point out to you just a second. Senior citizens, we had reduced staff, 8.66% decrease. Recreation department, 10.18% decrease. Judicial expenses, we just adjusted the salaries like they should be. I mean, they were inflated a bit and had excess, so we just adjusted those, and cuts otherwise 13.54% decrease. Now we're at planning in what we call this building inspection, zoning enforcement and inspections. Did a couple things. First of all, I told you about, well, first there's the workers' comp and all that stuff, but then there's, I think it was $12,000 in parcel updates that we had to move from the tax assessor or tax appraisers to that office. We also combined code enforcement into that office as well. And he's going to be moving, well, I already have moved up here, so they're all in the same office. We can avoid the utility costs, a lot of synergy involved in putting them together. GIS and code enforcement, which was $44,000 for code enforcement, $12,000 plus $18,000 2.8% decrease, and that's just the amount of money that we give them from the general fund. You know, a lot of the revenue comes from wires and hardline 911 fees. And that's in a separate budget. Code enforcement officer, 100% decrease. We move it all into planning department. Recycling site, 7.4% decrease. And GED is 100% increase. Now, the reason for that is because we never recognize that revenue as something separate or that expenditure. We recognize expenditure at the top here as a $6,000 cost, but now we need to start making them pay for the utilities, and so those utilities, we're going to track those separately so we can see what the real benefit of having them there is in terms of economics. So that's just added as an additional line item. Now, are there any questions other than those that I pointed out to you as items of interest? We can go through the entire general fund. We're up to 1,000 line items, a little over 1,000 line items, and I'll be glad to go through every one of them if you like. But if you want to, what do y'all want to do? I mean, I've given you a copy. You can look at them. You see what I can give you a copy of the page we just looked at. We can come back next week and talk about it even more if we want to. But what I would suggest to you is we take the current proposed budget and go forward with it. I do want to explain to you a couple different things, and we do need to look at these other budgets while we're in here. Again, back to the fire departments. They accrue a fund balance at the end of the year. If they don't spend it, they get to keep it. And one of the benefits of that system is that instead of them trying to spend every nickel and dime on something that they may not need, they can accrue a bit of fund balance and buy something significant that they do need. The problem with that is if it continues to accrue and then we add it next year, then we have to actually include that again as a revenue source, else they can't spend it without doing a budget amendment. And we just don't need to get into a bunch of budget amendments. What I would recommend to you is take the current policy, and when we started doing accruing the fund balance, we also adopted a policy that said you got to provide us a current year budget and your next year's budget, and you also have to provide us an asset register, which says this is all the stuff that we have. Here's our budget this year. Here's what we spent. Here's here's what income is. Here's what our expenses were, and here's what we propose next year. And that's worked out really well. They've all, before we gave them a dime each year, we would make sure that they provided that to us, and so that there's good accounting for it. And I think we certainly have the right. If we're going to give money, we need to know, where it's going, what to do with it. But I think that's worked really well. What I suggest to you now is that at the end of the year, whatever fund balance they have, as long as they turn in that right information, they show us the accountability with their former year and subsequent year budget and their asset register shows nothing just disappeared, then once they supply that information, then we give them their fund balance and we clear it off the books that year and not try to maintain, the fund balance from year to year. That's what I'm proposing here, and in doing so, I have a revenue, which is the fund balance that they currently have. They got a total of $44,046 in fund balance, and it's split up between 13 different departments. I'll try and get this. And I had to figure out exactly which one of each one of them had, but the total come out to 44,000. But this would be, that's the budget figure including the 44,000, basically. 44,046 cents. And then from this year forward, at the end of the year, before the end of the year, once they provide that information, we write in the check, everything would balance. We won't have to, I mean, we go through nightmares trying to deal with the auditors on accumulated fund balance too. It's just tough. And then it gets off, people think they got more than they can, they think they spend more than what we had given for the current year because they had it accumulated. But if you don't budget that money, you can't spend it. If you do, you gotta do a budget amendment. And it's just getting to be really hairy. So I would suggest that to you, if you're okay with it. But this year's budget would show, giving them that fund balance that we have out there held. And we keep up with it, and the auditors keep up with it. But we need, and Mark says, you know, the best thing to do is just zero it out. If you feel good about it, about the way to handle it, just zero it out.
Have you felt good with each one of the departments thus far?
If I don't feel good, they don't get no money. And, and really, we're not trying to tell them how to run the department. That's not the idea. The idea is we know that we've historically had some problems with some funds that got missing, and we don't want that to happen again. And you know, 100% of people, if they know somebody's looking over the shoulder, it's less likely to happen. And if it does happen, it won't happen within a year's period of time. It won't happen over a accumulated period of time. So it's worked out really well. And in fact, I would venture to say that all the departments actually appreciate that too, because that becomes a public document that they turn over to me, and anybody in that department can see it. And that's not always been the case in every department either. You know, they've always wondered what was going on with the money. You know, and that's not in every department, but that was certainly in some, in one of the ones that had trouble with it.
Well, Billy, are you saying it's kind of a nightmare for the department to roll over some, to save up for $14,000 thermal image like that?
Yeah, you know, you have been able to do that, George. In fact, I'll just give you an example. Arnoldville currently, the total, I believe your accumulated fund balance in Arnoldville, and don't hold me to this just right yet because I'm doing this on the fly. It looks like it's about $7,552. And again, don't you go back to tell Arnoldville Fire Department that's what they got. Because I got to confirm it. Matt Mark's looking to make sure we get all this right. Because it does get hairy, and I want to make sure it's right. But it looks like that's the case. But that's accumulated over a 3-year period. You know, what you didn't spend, it was allotted to you over a 3-year period. But now, if we just give you what was normally allotted, then, you know, it spent the stuff and paid for the stuff that we paid for out of there, then you couldn't spend more than what we had designated for this year or for next year. You couldn't spend that fund balance because unless we added it as a revenue source, we'd have to do a budget amendment as a board so that you could spend that money. But if we say each year we're going to pay you off at the end of the year, whatever fund balance you have, if you provide those documents that we asked for, not on the 1st of the year, but on the 31st of December versus the 1st of January, then we'll give you the check for the fund balance. And just clear it all out and be done. You won't carry anything forward. And the liability is exactly the same as us. If we feel comfortable, and what difference does it really make if it's January 1 or December 31, except the fact we don't have to try to track all this money.
But they will have to show accounting for what they're spending.
It's the same policy, it's just a matter of backing it up. In fact, we'll write the check on December 31st, but won't give it to them until they provide the information. Because we need to write that check in the prior year, otherwise it gets carried forward and then it's another nightmare. But yeah, it's the same policy, and they're all used to it. I think you all are used to it now, George, right? I mean, they didn't like it to begin with, but hey, we gotta have accountability, we expect accountability. So just so you don't look at that number and think, well, this is astronomical. Well, it's really not. It's really not what it appears. It's just a paying off the fund balance, and each year we'll pay it off, and that number we won't be any fund balance carry forward. Everybody okay with that? Y'all want to go over each one of these individuals? I mean, you got all the copies. You can look at them on your own. You sort of seen the summary, and I can give you a copy of that, and then we can discuss it next week if you would like. If you have any concerns.
Yeah, I'd like to look.
Okay.
Then we got a question.
You want to go right now? At the house, okay. All right. Well, let's go through these other budgets too, and I know you got a copy of those, but we'll just go through them first. The drug seizure, that's, you know, we track this, it's basically discretion of the sheriff, and, I explained the proposed budget. He had roughly the same fund balance, anticipate $13,000 revenue, total of $19,000. And so the expenditure budget's gonna be roughly the same. Now, these aren't absolute numbers, these are estimations, except for that one, I think that one's correct. But, if you don't budget it, again, if you don't budget it, you don't have specific, then you can't spend it. And that's just determined for specific things that can be bought with that money, but it's at the sheriff's discretion. Jail construction, looks like we got about $97,000 in fund balance. We anticipate this much coming from these different sources, for a total of 113, and so the expense budget will be exactly the same. Now that's all contingent on that amount of money coming in. If we have anything catastrophic that happens at the jail, then we can fix it with that money. We don't have to have general fund obligations to make that happen. 911. Biggest difference here is we got about $20,000 in prepaid wireless fees that we're anticipating. They told us that that'd be about $30,000, but it turns out that revenues are really only coming in at about 70% of anticipated amounts. And I think that's because some of the convenience stores aren't really charging for that prepaid wireless 75-cent fee. That's just the reality. That's a $20,000 increase, very positive. And the amount from the general fund, we've taken from 73 to 59. We could do that primarily because of that 20,000. So our general fund obligation has gone down basically because of the new law that said the prepaid wireless has to pay 75 cents. And again, all these have to have revenue, have to be revenue neutral. Revenue and expenditures have to match it. And basically, if these expenditures go up and exceed what revenue is brought in other than from the general fund, we have to make it up from the general fund. That's what that number is. This is the clerk of court's fund that she gets, and it's at her discretion. We just track it. We started tracking that last year. If you remember, that's one of those funds we had to track. And she can buy office equipment with it or whatever to help that office. It's limited as what it be. It's her money, or it's county's money, but she has the discretion to spend it as she like. Roughly $2,800 fund balance. Anticipated $2,400 in receipts, and this is from the sales of copies that they sell on their website. It comes from our information, and they send their check. And so the total revenue will be $1,530, and expenses the same. 2007 SPLOST, this will end collections in October, September. Well, October will be the last check we get to on 2007 SPLOST. We'll take our fund balance. We don't know what our fund balance is, but it should be considerably more. We're gonna have to estimate a fund balance. I mean, we know the fund balance is, we might have to estimate some collections here and add that to that number. And then we'll add that and redistribute that. We won't get 800,000 because we're only gonna collect for 6 months out of the year. And of course, the collections are off anyway. We were 772. So what we'll have to do here is we'll add 75% of that number right there to this. That'll go up, and we'll redistribute that number among these equally on a percentage basis. These have to be spent based on the percentage that you said that they were going to be spent on, or somewhere close to it. So we'll have to redistribute that. I'll change that as well. Again, we're not voting on anything. I'm just going over it with you. But I just seem to have missed that part of revenue. Oh, that's right. That's why it's not there. This is next year. our collections are gonna end this October. That's a good point. So that's why we don't have any. It's freaking me out. I couldn't imagine how I missed that much. But yeah, there's no collections. There won't be any revenue next year. That'll be on the next one. That'll be 2007 splice. We do have $800,000 in anticipated collections, $800,000 redistributed in anticipated expenditures. We will not spend that much. We will accumulate some fund balance, but that'll show up as a revenue source for the next year, just like we did in 2007. Until it's all gone. We'll account for every dime of it.
And can I ask you a question? In that accumulated balance, can that computer be purchased through that fund that's there?
What computer?
The one for the coroner, the one James was requesting.
You can buy a computer through 2007 or actually 2012 SPLOST under the computer and IT update. Law library, still at discretion of Superior Court judges. Actually, I think it's managed by one of the local attorney, but that we just do the budget and they spend it and they hardly spend anything. I think Judge Bailey had mentioned at one point about buying some new juror chairs, but I found some at the universities. I think they're satisfied with those. But they can, if they don't have anything else they need, they're accumulating funds, then they can use it for things like that. That's my understanding. So we may lean on them again if they get tired of those chairs that we have. The landfill, again, needs to be a balanced budget. The difference is, and basically the difference is going to be the amount that they send to the general fund. And it's just off. We hope that this number is going to be off. It's going to be a lot more than that right now. Basically, all we're making off of landfill is about $35,000 net a year by the time we figure it out. Maybe it'll go up, but I'm not thinking that it will. But basically, if you look at the expenditures, it is only 87% of what it was before, and we'll continue to try to cut. The problem with the landfill is almost like a jail. It costs the same to operate whether you got one person showing up or whether you got 100. If you burn a little bit more fuel, the big cost in the overhead is labor, and you just gotta keep it going, or either put it in mothballs, which is not totally out of question. We don't want to lose money with it. Recreation Department, another fund balance issue. Those are the ones that they've been allowed for fundraisers and keep their funds, and I would like to be able to liberate that to what I don't want to give them a check by anything, but we need to keep track of that. But the only way that they can spend it is if it is budgeted. Over the last 3 years, they've been able to accrue about, and again, Mark's going to confirm this, but here's a big number to keep in mind to start with. And this number's going down every year. And this 98,000 is less than what it was before. This is from the general fund. And this is taking into account also the fact that we are adding their group insurance. It's like another $6,600. By the time you take that $6,600 that wasn't in there before, you subtract from the 98, you're down around 92. So we're constantly bringing that one down. They basically reduced their overall budget by about 10%, a little over 10%. Of the funds that it actually takes for us to run. I mean, they bring in money. You can see where they bring in money. They have fundraisers, this kind of thing. But they've been able to keep those monies that they have been able to raise, and that's come up to a fund balance number here. Recreation fund balance 67,438.93. What I want to do is continue to run whatever that fund balance is put it in there as a revenue source for the next year, but also turn around and put it in there as an expenditure source. That way, if they come up with major projects, then it would be available. Otherwise, we'll have to do the same thing. We'll have to do the whole budget amendment. And that way it's out there in front of us, when we look at it, we can continue to track it and see what it's about. So put it in there as an expenditure source for capital projects, if there's so needed. And then we can see it, it's tracked. And it looks like a big number, but again, a lot of it's raised in turn. Revenue and expenditures match up. But the real number is, this is the amount that they get from the general fund. And that number is continuously going down. Drug enforcement is the last fund. Again, it's, this is money that's raised from, drug task force and that kind of thing. There's about a $67,000 fund balance, and anticipate about $3,000 in revenue. So that's about $70,000, and that money is spent at the sheriff's discretion. It can be spent on basically anything, vehicles, whatever. So that is something that if we, if he has to have a new vehicle or something, it can be spent on that. But if you don't budget it, you cannot. You can't spend it without us doing a budget amendment. That's it. Is there any questions? Everybody go to sleep? Well, I can tell you it's been quite a challenge. I mean, this year's been the roughest year so far. We're doing the budget, and I appreciate it. Everybody involved. Everybody's been very good. We've worked hard, and don't want to raise the millage rate. We haven't done that. We didn't do it again this year, and it's getting tougher and tougher. But that's just the way it is. It's tough on those people who are paying the taxes, so we have to be cognizant of that as well. I do appreciate that, and I hope you'll all tell all the people in the individual departments how much you appreciate it too, because they have stepped up to the plate to try to make it happen. Next meeting. Well, there's no further questions. This meeting is adjourned.